Are you blaming this on social media?
I'm talking about the power of social media.
Puffy is an entertainment icon, foundational black American male that rose from Mount Vernon, New York to Harlem to become a billionaire in business. He took the feds to trial and he beat them. Legacy cemented.
They say the law is blind, but somehow, it keeps tripping over black men. Welcome to Rank Mogul. And welcome to Blackmailed, the Mann Act edition. Let's talk about the law that was supposed to protect women, but ended up lassoing black men like cattle. You've heard the names, Jack Johnson, Diddy, Cassie, Hugh Hefner, and every IG model who ever got flued out for a weekend in Miami. But before the private jets and NBA culture, before the hashtags and headlines, there was one man who started it all. Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion of the world. A man who didn't just beat white men in the ring, he beat them in confidence, style, and swagger. And that was unforgivable. So in 1910, the US government passed the Mann Act, a law aimed at stopping so-called white slavery. A law that made it a federal crime to transport women across state lines for immoral purposes. Sounds noble, right? But it didn't take long for that law to become a weapon. And Jack Johnson was its first target. They couldn't knock him out in the ring, so they took him to court. In 1913, Johnson was convicted for taking his white girlfriend across state lines. Not a trafficker. Not a pimp. Just a black man. Dating a white woman. That was the real threat. Not sex. Not slavery. Just the sight of a free black man loving who he wanted. That's what made the Mann Act so dangerous. It wasn't built to stop abuse. It was built to stop power. Specifically, black power wrapped in silk suits, gold watches, and interracial love. So when we see Diddy being charged under the same law over 100 years later, don't tell me this is about justice. Tell me why we're still using a 1910 rope to tie up 20-25 men. Was the Mann Act ever about protecting women? Or has it always been about controlling the wrong kind of man? Let's break it down. The selective sword, who gets slashed, who gets saved. Let's talk about what actually gets you locked up in America, not what you do but who you are when you do it. Diddy, 2025. Found guilty under the Mann Act, the same law that took down Jack Johnson in 1913. What was the crime? Flying women out. Booking hotel rooms. Throwing parties with NDAs. Having consensual sex in expensive zip codes. You know, everything we watched in rap videos for 25 years. Now? Suddenly it's federal evidence. The lifestyle that made him rich, famous, and envied is the same lifestyle they used to throw him in a courtroom. But let's flip the camera around. Hugh Hefner. The original influencer. Built an empire off sex, bunnies, and cross-country photo shoots. Women as young as 18 were living in the Playboy mansion full-time. Stories of drugs, coercion, mental breakdowns, and not one Mann Act charge. Elvis Presley. Met Priscilla when she was 14. Had her living in Graceland at 15. But when you're the king of rock and roll, apparently that makes you romantic. Not a federal offender. Dan Bilzerian. Private jets full of models. Weekend sex parties in 3 countries. Where's the FBI? Girls gone wild. Drunk teenagers flashing cameras on spring break. Profited off unedited consent for years. No federal raid. No prison. No Mann Act. TikTok mansion culture? Full of influencers collabing under the age of 21, getting flown out, flown in, and flown past any accountability. So what's the common denominator? If you're white and wild, it's branding. If you're black and bold, it's a crime scene. Let's be honest, Diddy didn't get locked up for sex. He got locked up for being a rich black man who had too much power, too many women, and not enough white approval. The flued out generation. If Diddy is guilty, so is IG. Let's keep it a buck. If the Mann Act is a real thing, then Instagram should be the National Archives of federal offenses. From 2013 to 2019, every third post was a softcore version of a Mann Act violation. You had women posting, flued out to Dubai. Private jet to Turks. Weekend in LA with a rapper I can't tag. And it was glorified. We're talking sugar babies, cash apps, Birkin bags, NDA culture, and men who made a whole economy off flying girls out for weekend trips. Hell, flued out became part of the slang. So if what Diddy did is illegal, then we need a RICO case for half of Love and Hip Hop and 80% of Instagram's Explore page from the 2010s. Let's get real. If these women were victims, then why were they negotiating rates in DMs? Why were they posting the hotel slippers and champagne glasses with captions like living soft? You can't criminalize one man for playing a game that a million people played online for likes, clout, and cash. This wasn't trafficking. This was mutual delusion. A transaction dressed up as romance. So here's the question, are we enforcing laws? Or are we just punishing lifestyles we secretly envied until they went viral? Because if Diddy goes down for this, then it needs to send a push notification that says, you may be entitled to federal prison time based on your 2016 vacation photos. Let's talk about it. Extortion or survival? The case against Cassie. Let's talk about the part of the story no one wants to touch. Cassie. Was she a survivor? Or a savvy opportunist who played the long game? Because here's the play-by-play. She dated Diddy for over a decade. Lived in mansions. Rode private jets. Wore the lifestyle like a second skin. Then one day years after the breakup she files a lawsuit. A civil one. Not criminal. And within 24 hours, he cuts her a check. Reportedly in the tens of millions. Now pause. If this was about justice, why no trial? Why no court date? Why not let the world hear the full story? Because that wasn't the plan. This was never about a jury, it was about a checkbook. Cassie filed a lawsuit so explosive, so reputationally nuclear, that Diddy had two choices: fight it in court and lose everything by default. Pay her off, stay silent, and hope the storm passed. So he chose silence. But that silence cost him not just millions, but the presumption of innocence. And once that money moved, the media smelled blood. The lawsuits started multiplying. Now the feds are involved. Now the Mann Act comes back from the grave like a ghost in Gucci. And nobody's asking the real question, should Diddy sue her back? Because if Cassie's allegations were just leverage, if her story led directly to a federal downfall, and she's still living off his money, then isn't that extortion dressed up as a #MeToo moment? You can't build a mansion with a man, sleep in his bed, post the photos, wear the diamonds, then turn around years later and say actually, I was trafficked. Because if that's the precedent, then every breakup becomes a legal threat. Every NDA becomes a time bomb. And every rich black man becomes a walking settlement fund. Now we're not saying Cassie lied. But we are saying if you can financially profit from the accusation alone, then where's the incentive to prove anything at all? That's not justice. That's business. So maybe Diddy needs to file a lawsuit of his own. Not just to clear his name but to draw the line between true abuse and designer-level blackmail. Let's talk about it.
The whisper economy, the cost of a look, ADM, a bad night.
Welcome to the new America where accusations are currency. Where truth is optional. And where whispers are worth more than evidence. This ain't the justice system. It's the whisper economy. You don't need a trial anymore, just a tweet. Just a headline. Just he made me uncomfortable. In this economy? Diddy might be a demon. Zion might be dumb. Shannon might be reckless. But if feelings are enough to convict, then all of us are one bad date away from a press conference. And that's not justice. That's emotional capitalism. We've seen it before. Jack Johnson, the Mann Act's original target. Kobe Bryant, never convicted, but forever accused. Deshaun Watson, sued, not jailed, and still labeled. Jonathan Majors, one headline erased a blockbuster future. Diddy, no charges, just whispers. And now? Full-scale federal raid. Meanwhile? Elvis married Priscilla when she was 14. Gene Simmons sang about sleeping with a 16-year-old. Woody Allen married his stepdaughter. Hugh Hefner made trafficking look like luxury. They didn't lose deals. They didn't get canceled. They got documentaries. Because in the whisper economy, black men are the stock that's easiest to short. One false move and the market crashes. Not because they're guilty, but because it's profitable to say they are. Ask yourself, if every woman who partied on a private jet is a victim, then shouldn't every rapper, promoter, athlete, and flute-out flyer be facing time? You see how crazy that sounds? The whisper economy only moves in one direction and the check always clears at the black man's expense. So here's the rank mogul truth. If we keep allowing allegations to outweigh facts, if we keep letting Twitter threads serve as trial transcripts, then no man is safe. Not the innocent. Not the guilty. Not even the ones minding their business. Because it's not about justice anymore, it's about the performance of pain. The aesthetic of survival. The monetization of memory. And in that game? The truth don't stand a chance. Welcome to the era of accusations as asset class. The whisper that wrecks. The currency of cancellation. Welcome to the whisper economy. And that's rank mogul. Let's talk about it.